Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng held onto the black scale, which was around the size of a wash basin. He felt a slight coldness while holding onto it, and even though he was looking at the physical object, he felt that black scale had an intimidating aura. Extermination godly armor's name rings far and wide. However, it had always been in 5 Chaos Masters' possession, and has never been owned by any other great beings. So, all the said true uniqueness of extermination, godly armor spreading within the universe ocean are merely rumors. But the unanimous fact agreed upon by all, including the various universe supreme masters, is that its powers are only second to that of a supreme true treasure. Luo Feng could still remember the scene where 5 Chaos Master transformed into 5 Beasts God. Extermination godly armor was certainly the best fit for him. A true treasure of this grade is more precious and rarer than a strange object. Strange objects may be formidable, but they do not have any secret engravings to stimulate them. No one knows the actual powers of extermination godly armor, nor do they know its true name. Luo Feng looked at the black scale before him. His heart was on fire. I must get hold of extermination godly armor. Luo Feng's godly power penetrated the black scale right away. This particular black scale had drifted all the way, and had undergone the various impacts within deep abyss without the protection of any godly power. Just like his Shawu wings, which had suffered from various ups and downs to be heavily damaged, this black scale might not be so unfortunate as to incur damages, but it had lost almost all of its life imprints, with only a faint trace left. With merely 2 impacts, Luo Feng was able to penetrate it to leave a life imprint. Luo Feng frowned. There isn't any information. This black scale had already recognized him as its master, but he could not detect anything special. Could it be because this black scale is only a small part of the countless scales on extermination godly armor? So it was powerless. Luo Feng said to himself. It was possible, as there was something called an incomplete true treasure. A true treasure had to be able to function normally before a portion of information could appear. Start searching. Star Tower started moving right away. Luo Feng started searching, as though he had cast his net at random. He merely had a piece of scale that recognized its master. But it did not have the ability to summon, nor did it contain any information, so Luo Feng could only search around slowly. However, he had already discovered his first piece, so he assumed that there would be others in the surroundings. With his control over Golden Kingdom, Luo Feng transformed into a large golden hand and grasped handfuls of dangerous lands, as he scanned and swept through them carefully. Second piece. Luo Feng was pleasantly surprised. A third piece. The truth was, there were, indeed, many extermination godly armor scales in the surroundings. One by one, these scales were quickly being discovered, allowing the number of scales that Luo Feng found to increase continuously. The only pity was, even though the number of scales found was increasing, there was still no information regarding extermination godly armor being transmitted to Luo Feng's consciousness. Universe Ocean was the Divine Eye clan's first universe. 5 Chaos Master frowned and quickly walked out of the silent room to stand before the high railings of the towering godly palace. He looked far into the sky. First True Master. Before him, in mid-air, a fuzzy figure appeared. 5 Chaos. First True Master looked at him. First True Master, 5 Chaos Master said anxiously. Previously, when my black token lost its sensitivity while it was within Universe Ocean, I could detect its location and direction, but at least I could detect its presence. When my black token first lost its sensitivity, I thought it was the extremely scary impact of the deep abyss that repeatedly attacked with such impact, thus causing my life imprints to shatter. However, just now. First True Master frowned and said, continue talking. Just a moment ago, when it came to the countless pieces of scales of extermination godly armor, by right, I should be able to vaguely detect them. But just now, I realized that the scales were disappearing quickly, one after the other. Apparently, My life imprints were continuously being shattered. However, when Extermination godly armor was being torn apart into countless scale pieces, and being swept into deep abyss, even if it was a unique situation, it should still be a large-scale amount of life imprints being shattered at one go as a result of a portion of scales being swept up. Yet I felt that this repeated shattering was more likely scattered pieces of my Extermination godly armor being found by great beings and thereafter, recognizing these great beings as their masters. 5 Chaos Master said this all in a serious tone. Being found by great beings. First True Master was a little confused. There are other great beings in the 9th level of Deep Abyss. There aren't many who know of Deep Abyss, 5 Chaos Master replied seriously. Just 3 powers, us, the human race from the primal universe, and the Purple Moon Holy Land. Those who dare to venture into Deep Abyss are definitely Universe Supreme Masters. Almost certainly, they would be humans from the primal universe, and a certain few Universe Supreme Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land. Or a few other Universe Supreme Masters, who were nearby and heard the news and were quick in reaching Deep Abyss to explore. That may be how a certain few Universe Supreme Masters somehow ventured into the 9th level of Deep Abyss. First True Master nodded slightly. Then the situation was a little troublesome. There were great beings who were a step ahead of him. The chances of great beings finding the scattered scales were extremely high, said 5 Chaos Master, while the chances of the environment of Deep Abyss causing the life imprints to shatter one by one were extremely low, unless there were cases of sheer coincidences. I know, First True Master replied slowly. 5 Chaos Master bowed and immediately retreated. He understood that now, all he could do was pass on the information he had. There was really nothing else he could do. The internal domain of Universe Boat. 3rd True Master and 6th True Master had made a majestic entry into the internal region. What? Yes, teacher. 6th True Master's divided body was in a conversation with 1st True Master via its consciousness. Then he quickly turned his head to look at 3rd True Master beside him. In a serious tone, he said, Teacher has just given me some news. We have met with a little trouble. Oh? 3rd True Master looked over. What did Divine Eye say? Divine Eye clan had 7 True Masters. First True Master was the first in the entire history of the Divine Eye clan to become a Universe Supreme Master. At that time, he went by the title of Divine Eye. He took the path of becoming a Universe Supreme Master with his title of Divine Eye, therefore, within Universe Ocean, he had earned the title of Divine Eye True Master. Among the other 6 True Masters, 3 were disciples of Divine Eye True Master. Teachers said that in the 9th level of Deep Abyss, there are great beings, and these great beings are also searching for the scattered pieces of scales of Extermination godly armor, 6th True Master said in a serious tone. We have merely entered this internal domain, so we are still very far away. There is no way we can stop them. Great beings have actually ventured into Deep Abyss too. 3rd True Master instantly became a little flustered. No matter how formidable they were, there was no way they could get there directly. I don't care anymore. 3rd True Master gritted his teeth as he shouted, Let's just burn with our godly power. We will tear apart time and space to get there in the shortest time possible. Yes. 6th True Master nodded. The two went utterly mad. Although they each owned a supreme true treasure, those were not attacking weapon-type true treasures. So when it came to the speed of tearing apart time and space, they were far from catching up with Huge Axe Creator. The only advantage they had was that Huge Axe Creator was already a beat slower than they were from the beginning, so at that point in time, Huge Axe Creator was merely at the entrance of Universe Boat. Searching like crazy, one by one, the pieces of scales were being hunted down. Luo Feng had transformed into a golden beast, which controlled Golden Kingdom within Deep Abyss. Golden Beast was rampantly grabbing, kicking, and trying all sorts of ways to comb through every inch possible. Soon, he managed to search and gather more and more pieces of scattered scales. 9,310, 311, Luo Feng went on without a moment's rest. The thing was, even if he had gathered many of them, the scales were still in a mess. There was no single composition that looked like a decent component. Time passed by. In a blink of the eye, the search had gone on for more than a month. Luo Feng had taken complete reference to the distribution of these scales. In areas where the scales were densely gathered, he would search even more thoroughly. Naturally, he had sketched a diagram in his mind, which easily allowed him to speculate the place that would most likely to have a large number of scales. Going by such a method, Luo Feng was highly efficient. 182,900. Luo Feng had lost the zest he had when he first started. Now, he only looked forward to the moment where all these scattered pieces of scales would start to show changes. The large amount of scattered black scales accumulated in a pile in the core control room of Star Tower suddenly flew toward and gathered around this 182,900th piece of scale Luo Feng had just collected. The 182,900th piece became a core. Every other piece was connecting, embedding, and composing about it in a frenzy. At the same time, bouts of aura were spreading out. There was an immeasurably insane aura, to the extent of reminding Luo Feng of memories within the space of the wings, where he was subjected to the insanely suppressive willpower of the bloodstains on the pair of white wings. In a short moment, a gigantic, black wrist guard with a simple structure was suspended above the large number of scattered scales. The moment Luo Feng stretched out his left hand, the black wrist guard flew over instantly to cover his wrist. Quickly, it blended into its surroundings. At the same time, a piece of information was transmitted from the wrist guard into his consciousness rapidly. Luo Feng whispered softly. So Extermination, Godly Armor's original name, is Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor was its actual name. Or rather, it was the name the creator of this armor had given it. As for Extermination Godly Armor, it was a name 5 Chaos Master had given the armor. Upon transmission, all of Universe Ocean got to know of its name. A mere wrist guard is of no use at all. The information transmitted was a piteous amount, containing only the actual name and some uses of the wrist guard. The simple engravings on the wrist guard could be facilitated to include attachment, but apparently, this level of attachment would not be comparable to the ultimate technique of a Universe Master Luo Feng had created. Yet this name seems to suggest that there is something extraordinary about this Extermination Godly Armor. Luo Feng was looking more and more forward to learning more about the armor. The name it was given was quite well deserved, actually. After all, it was only second to a supreme true treasure. Naturally, it would be ridiculous to think of it as ordinary. Judging from normal practice, for the weaker ones, using strange objects and using supreme true treasures that were unable to unleash their full potential, the strength of the power unleashed by both was not much different. Supreme true treasures could unleash their true powers only if they were in the hands of a great being was capable of executing its powers well. For example, to most universe supreme masters, strange objects and supreme true treasures were vastly different. For some universe masters who were very powerful, they might still be able to unleash a sizable amount of power from these supreme true treasures. However, to Luo Feng, who had only activated Star Tower to its second form, he did not unleash the full potential of Star Tower's true strength. Star Tower could only be treated as equivalent to a strange object. Meaning to say that Extermination Godly Armor and Silver Wings, when placed in Luo Feng's hands, would be equal to Star Tower in power level. At least for now. With Silver Wings, Luo Feng was not the least bothered about the fourth-tier life forms. With his Star Tower long shuttle, he could suppress the fourth-tier life forms, but his power level would not be enough to fight Star River Master. I wonder what the true efficiency of Extermination Godly Armor is, Luo Feng said. Continue seeking. Sense of summoning. Upon obtaining the first component, the wrist guard of Extermination Godly Armor, Luo Feng could already feel a faint summoning from, for instance, the other pieces of scales around him and the pieces of scales dispersed in the outside world but still nearby. Following the sense of summoning, Luo Feng's speed of search increased tremendously, and with an extremely high rate of efficiency. One by one, scales were being gathered continuously. He had even started to discover golden scales. The entire right arm of Extermination Godly Armor was golden, while the other parts were black. In the blink of an eye, another 32 days passed. The number of scales from Extermination, Godly Armor, that Luo Feng had gathered reached 6,920,021 pieces. Based on an approximate assemblage, he estimated that he must have gathered around 80% of the entire Extermination Godly Armor. Although the quantity was high, he still lacked many connecting parts, so the entire armor seemed scattered with many of its secret engravings remaining incomplete. Just as the 6,920,021st piece of scale was recognizing its master, a drastic change occurred again. Wrist guard, battle boots, and dress armor all started assembling in a frenzy. Bouts of intimidating aura were gushing forth continuously, impacting Luo Feng's willpower. However, having steeled his willpower during his time in the space of the White Wings, Luo Feng was able to ward off the impacts. Soon, a half-completed Extermination Godly Armor was seen suspended in mid-air. The half-finished Extermination Godly Armor was floating in the control room of Star Tower, and it was giving out a dark light. The armor was black, and only the right claw was golden. A plethora of ancient information flooded Luo Feng's mind. Although he wasn't able to read the characters, he knew what they meant. This is Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. Luo Feng looked happy. No wonder it's a valuable second only to supreme true treasures. Incredible. This is exactly what I need right now. The message transferred already contained most of the information of Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. It had several functions. It had excellent defending power as an armor. It was able to affect the soul and willpower, and it was able to weaken the soul attack to 1/100th. It was much more effective against material attacks, as it was able to weaken material attack to 1/100,000th. It was more precious than force armor. Also, it was made up of 8,999,999 scales, and those scales could form all sorts of shapes. It could be used as a spiritual force weapon like how that 5 Chaos Master formed 5 Beast God. It was used for distant attacks. Plus, the right claw was the most powerful attacking part. Aside from defense, distant attacks, and close combat, Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor also had a special ability, which gave it the name Crazy Demon. When the mind and willpower of the user became more and more similar to the armor, the user would grow crazier, and sometimes, the user would forget everything and fight madly. This madness would create a strong mental impact. Of course, the mind-hitting power wasn't strong enough to be useful. Such wicked armor. Luo Feng raised his head and looked at Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. The armor flew to Luo Feng's body like a streak of black light. Black scales showed up on his godly body. As for force armor, Luo Feng had put it away. Crazy Demon. Crazy Demon. Luo Feng frowned. Wicked and dangerous. It wasn't a good thing to be trapped in the state of a crazed demon. Based on the information on hand, once he was trapped in that state, he would forget everything and only know fighting. This was dangerous, as he needed to be able to judge the situation. No wonder I've never heard of 5 Chaos Master using mind attacks. Luo Feng thought. It's indeed not useful. The good thing is, it's excellent in close combat, distant attacks, and defense, especially that right claw. Luo Feng thought. There were different types of engraving sculptures on Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. There were engravings for material defense, there was a combination of engravings, and there were even 3 levels of engraving sculptures on the golden right claw. Apparently, the engravings were not complete. The engravings of defense and combination are not difficult. Luo Feng was extremely high-achieving in engraving pictures. The most difficult ones are those on the golden right claw. They can rival Shawu Wing, but are inferior to Star Tower. I'll keep searching. Luo Feng didn't have time to study the engravings. I might not be able to completely understand these engravings. Besides, the Universe Supreme Masters are coming here, and I think it might take them a short while to arrive. I need to gather all the scales before they arrive. Half a month passed. It took Luo Feng a long time to get into the abyss from Universe Boat. However, the 3rd True Master and the 6th True Master advanced extremely quickly. It's frozen lake fire in the front, and the abyss is right above. Based on the coordinate, we can race up there and go to the 9th abyss. Even there's someone looking for valuables, they won't be able to make it out in such a short time. They're not able to use domain to inspect the abyss, so they can only use their eyes and senses. With the sensing skills we Universe Supreme Masters have, he won't be able to get away. Let's go. They were both sitting in Pinnacle Palace-type true treasures. They tore space and time like two beams of light, and the laws all receded. Their speed surged, 500 times faster than light speed, 1,000 times faster than light speed. They immediately went through frozen lake fire, and they saw the abyss on top. Their speed plummeted. Even Universe Supreme Masters didn't dare to rush into the abyss at high speed. After all, the gravitational power was already very strong, and with that breakneck speed, the Pinnacle Palaces might not be able to withstand it. Their speed plummeted, and they followed the swallowing power. Universe Masters would not be able to survive in Pinnacle Palace-type true treasures, yet it was different for Universe Supreme Masters. They were able to wield more power of Pinnacle Palace-type true treasures. Get into the abyss. I'll see which one is trying to seize the true treasures of Divine Eye Clan. Humph. Extermination godly armor, wing true treasures, they belong to us Divine Eye Clan. Our final death is coming. No matter which Universe Supreme Master you are, you're just unlucky. The two Universe Supreme Masters were ferocious, and they flew into the abyss. They were prepared to fight even Universe Supreme Masters. The Divine Eye Clan obtained ancient engraving sculptures in the three lands of Extremis, and after careful research, the 7 true masters fully comprehended lots of mysteries. They weren't afraid of anyone but Teacher Origin in Universe Ocean. In the depth of the 9th abyss. Where is it? Luo Feng sat in his bloody pyramid. He was flying in the inner area of the abyss. Where are the last scales? Extermination, godly armor, had 8,999,999 scales in total. He was afraid before that some scales would fall in some unknown areas. Yet now, he had 8,999,993 scales, and he had the final 6 left. I need them all. Luo Feng grew anxious. He wasn't able to find them with his sensing. It means that the scales are far away. Luo Feng closed his eyes, and a map came into his mind. It was the distribution map of the scales, and he was able to extrapolate from the map. I can infer that there are 9 possible areas where the final 6 scales are, and they are all on the edge. Luo Feng immediately selected his route. The bloody pyramid flew along the route, and started to look for the final 6 scales. Extermination godly armor couldn't even compare with Shawu Wing. Luo Feng was able to sense Shawu Wing when he was several light years away, yet he was only able to sense Extermination godly armor half a light year away. It could be concluded that there were differences between the two true treasures. Shawu Wing is that powerful with only 2 pairs of wings. If I have all 6 of them, how incredible it will be. The 3rd true master and the 6th true master had been looking in the abyss for 8 days. They followed the gravitational power, and they arrived at the area they intended to go. They found some fragments of true treasures, which made them realize that the other fragments and scales of Extermination godly armor must be close. I found a fragment of a true treasure. It might be from a true treasure from Luo Feng or 5 Chaos. Look carefully. Luo Feng flew along the edge, but he didn't dare use Golden Country. He speculated that the Universe Supreme Masters would have entered the 9th abyss now. If he used Golden Country, he would be found very soon. The bloody pyramid was flying fast, and Luo Feng was wearing the black crazy demon Extermination godly armor. 2 more. It's been 9 days. I found 4 scales in the past 9 days, and I only have 2 left. Luo Feng felt a sense of danger. He could sense that Universe Supreme Masters could show up anytime. The last 2 scales. There are still 3 areas that I haven't searched for. The abyss is enormous, so in all the areas where domain inspection is impossible, they can only use their eyes. I think they won't be able to find me in a short time. The last 3 areas are all very remote. It might take me half a month to inspect them all. Luo Feng was looking forward to it. Half a month. I've got to find the last 2 scales, and complete Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. The 3rd True Master and the 6th True Master kept searching. After 3 days, Luo Feng kept being patient, following the original path. I was in the center of Lava Ocean, and the speed exceeds the law control. Universe Supreme Masters might have the same skills. Luo Feng forced himself to be calm, and he would immediately hide if special ripples showed up. Luo Feng frowned and took out a token. That was a token given by his teacher, Sitting Mountain Guest, and he could contact each other using the token. Sitting Mountain Guest contacted Luo Feng. Luo Feng. Teacher, answered Luo Feng. Where are you? Said Sitting Mountain Guest. I'm in the 9th abyss, answered Luo Feng. No. I'm asking, which part of the 9th abyss are you in? I'm already in the 9th abyss, and I've followed the gravitational power, and reached the depth of the abyss. I found the 3rd True Master and the 6th Master, yet they didn't find me. Tell me exactly where you are. The message from Sitting Mountain Guest dazed Luo Feng. Teacher. Teacher is here. Teacher, you, Luo Feng was indeed dazed. Even if you become a Universe Master, said Sitting Mountain Guest, you won't be able to make it out with Star Tower without me. Do you want to spend forever in the abyss? Teacher. Luo Feng felt warm. Teacher Sitting Mountain Guest had said that he wouldn't help Luo Feng before, yet he arrived directly, which made Luo Feng grateful. Teacher, I'm at. Luo Feng described the reference points around him to let the teacher know where he was. I'm coming now, said Sitting Mountain Guest. Luo Feng, the 2 True Masters in Deep Abyss, said Sitting Mountain Guest. They are very sharp and sensitive. To avoid being discovered by them, my speed cannot exceed 100 times light speed. So, to reach to where you are, I need around 5 days. Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. He still had 3 more domains that he had yet to venture to, but teacher seemed to be quite far from him, which would give him more than enough time to explore 1 more domain. Teacher, let's meet somewhere else, then. Luo Feng immediately chose another location out of the remaining 3 domains that was nearest to where he was as the new meeting location. Okay. I will still need close to 6 days to reach there, Sitting Mountain Guest replied. After that, the line of communication was cut. Holding his token, Luo Feng was no longer worried or anxious. He was filled with excitement, and his eyes shone brightly. The moment Sitting Mountain Guest teacher arrives, all dangers will dispel. The moment teacher knew I had fallen into deep abyss, he rushed here right away. In his heart, he had always been cautious towards Sitting Mountain Guest. But this time, because Sitting Mountain Guest had rushed over so quickly, Luo Feng felt a warmth within his heart. 6 days later. Amidst the rolling, icy cold mountain range, winding about the hard, icy surface of the mountains was frozen lake fire. The Crimson Star Tower had stopped within this frozen lake fire, which could not be seen by the naked eye. In the last 3 domains I have searched, I have found nothing. That means I have 2 left. Luo Feng was desperate for the last 2 pieces of scales of the Extermination Godly Armor. He was just short of the final 2 pieces. Then the Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor would be complete. Luo Feng. Suddenly, a piece of information was transmitted to him. Luo Feng revealed his delight. Holding on to the token for transmission, he replied, Teacher, I am here. You can come over now, Sitting Mountain Guest said. I have arrived on the apex of the Triangular Mountain. Triangular Mountain. Luo Feng understood right away. There were many mountain peaks in the mountain range. These peaks were strange. Some resembled magic cubes. Among them, there was a peak that looked like a triangle from its side profile, as though it had been slashed by a blade to become so smooth and shiny. The Crimson Pyramid raced out of frozen lake fire, and flew toward the Triangular Mountain. He flew over many mountain peaks, and soon, he saw the Triangular Peak. It was so smooth and shiny all over, to the point that it looked more like a sculpture than a mountain. Luo Feng flew over to the apex of that mountain peak without delay. At the summit, he could see scattered pieces of icy mountain rocks all over, yet there was no sign of sitting mountain guest. "Teacher, I'm here, where are you?" Luo Feng asked again. One of the rocks on the mountain peak started to change into a shade of dark green, and began to float up and remain suspended in mid-air. Simultaneously, a cave appeared on the rock that was so tiny that only an ant might have been able to crawl through. "Come in." "Yes, teacher." As big as a speck of dust, Star Tower flew into the cave. Inside the rock was a world of immeasurable beauty. It was as though the whole internal world was composed of glass. Numerous miniature worlds within it were scattered and dispersed, and upon entering, Luo Feng was immediately led into the core world. It was a vast core world where all living things grew and lived. There were countless animals and plants, as well as humans and other races. "Teacher." Luo Feng could see sitting mountain guests standing on one of the faraway mountain peaks at first glance. Sitting mountain guest turned around, and his eyes were quick to focus on the black armor Luo Feng wore. He frowned upon taking a thorough look, then asked, "Is that Extermination godly armor?" Luo Feng smiled and nodded. "Yes." Luo Feng wore the armor in the hope of getting teacher to realize and ask about it without him having to say anything. Otherwise, it would naturally be difficult for him to distinguish any slight change in expression or form. "It was quite rewarding for you to be able to obtain this Extermination godly armor," sitting mountain guest said. "I have heard of its great name before but never had the chance to see it. Let me have a closer look." "Yes." Luo Feng knew that teacher was a top-tier existence extremely skilled in making true treasures. With a move of his mind, the half-completed Extermination godly armor flew over to where teacher was. From where he stood, sitting mountain guest stretched out both arms to receive the Extermination godly armor. He looked it over meticulously, and even studied the small portion of secret engravings found on the surface. The more he looked, the more furrowed his brows got. His frown deepened. "It's called," sitting mountain guest turned towards Luo Feng and asked, "Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor." "Teacher, how did you know?" Luo Feng was shocked. This Extermination godly armor had always followed 5 Chaos Master wherever he went and had never been passed around before. Its original name, Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor, would not have been known by other great beings. Sitting mountain guest laughed lightly and replied, "Naturally. I have met with some unique opportunities, too, so I learned about the existence of Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor long before now. It's just that this is my first time looking at it so closely. That is why I only now realized that 5 Chaos Masters Extermination godly armor is in fact Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor. This is an absolute true treasure, but there is one thing you have to bear in mind." Luo Feng listened intently. By using this Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor, once you enter the Crazy Demon state, the crazier the demon you get, the higher power of this battle armor will increase, albeit gradually. However, the moment you lose your autonomous consciousness and enter an absolute Crazy Demon state, you will not be able to maintain consciousness at will. There must be another great being around to wake you up within the shortest time possible. If no great being is around to break the Crazy Demon state and wake you up, you will lose your autonomous consciousness forever. Luo Feng's expression changed drastically. He replied, "Your disciple will remember this well." Luckily for him, teacher was around to give him guidance. Sitting mountain guest gave a light hum and looked up as though his gaze could bore holes in the endless space high above. Universe ocean is unfathomable. Some of the knowledge I have acquired was through pure coincidence. You need not worry. When using Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor, just control your internal peace well. Do not let the crazy demon control you, and nothing will go wrong. Once you have attained a willpower that is comparable to a universe supreme master, then no matter how crazy it is, the Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor will never be able to cause you to lose your autonomous consciousness. Sitting mountain guest looked at Luo Feng. Also, I see that this battle armor seems to be incomplete. Yes, it is. Luo Feng nodded. I still have some other pieces of scales with me. It is just that I am lacking the final two pieces. Therefore, quite a few other scales are unable to fuse. I am left with two domains to look into. I believe that the two pieces I am lacking should be in those two domains. Where? Let me accompany you. Sitting Mountain Guest smiled. Being able to obtain that crazy demon extermination, godly armor will be a great help to you too. Without further ado, Luo Feng, together with Sitting Mountain Guest teacher, headed toward the last two domains. On the third day. I can feel it. I can feel the summoning. In that direction. Luo Feng pointed far off into the distance. The mountain rock that was traveling with them immediately took a turn and headed in that direction at high speed. This mountain rock was a true treasure personally made by Sitting Mountain Guest. After he had paid an exorbitant price and put in extremely strenuous efforts. It was usually in the form of a mountain. Sitting Mountain Guest would normally sit on the peak of this mountain. Within Universe Ocean, this Sitting Mountain Peak was acclaimed as a supreme true treasure, but previously, during a conversation with his teacher, Luo Feng got to know that while Sitting Mountain Peak had many functions, it still had not progressed to the level of a supreme true treasure. Just as Sitting Mountain Guest had said, I myself am a special life form. I am one of a kind. This true treasure that I have refined is best suited to my life, and I made it myself and have even fused strange objects within it. It is indestructible. It is not a supreme true treasure, but in my hands, it is not much different from a supreme true treasure. If the treasure suits you, that would be the best, Sitting Mountain Guest continued. Of course, in the vast universe ocean, when it comes to refining and making true treasures, there is no one who can beat me. Other great beings even have to go looking for true treasures. Luo Feng was speechless. Who could be so capable? Making Star Tower for his disciple, then making Sitting Mountain Peak for himself. Sitting Mountain Guest had always been someone difficult to guard against, as he was well equipped with so many different methods and means. Until that day, within the vast universe ocean, there was no one who really knew Sitting Mountain Guest's true power. It was also because Sitting Mountain Guest never really fought head-on with anyone. He always relied on various other means, forcing the other universe supreme masters to a sorry state, which was why the various groups of powers were unwilling to offend this lone, wandering supreme master, Sitting Mountain Guest. Over there, Luo Feng guided. Over in that direction. The flying mountain rock broke through numerous obstacles only to end up colliding against the endless, icy land. There is no way in, Sitting Mountain Guest said. But I can feel it just below us, Luo Feng replied. Sitting Mountain Guest was also frowning. Beneath them was an endless, icy layer of vast land. The ground was immeasurably thick. There was not a single crack to be found. I have been to deep abyss before, said Sitting Mountain Guest. This endless frozen earth is indestructible and is completely frozen. By right, it is impossible for those two pieces of scales to make it down there. But I can sense that they are just below us. Luo Feng was confused, too. I have yet to hear of anyone who can break through that immeasurable layer of frozen earth. Sitting Mountain Guest was at his wits' end. Let me think. Teacher, let me out to take a look, Luo Feng said. All right. Sitting Mountain Guest nodded. At the moment, he could not come up with any solution. Maybe Luo Feng could get lucky. Without further delay, Luo Feng boarded Crimson Pyramid, and Sitting Mountain Guest sat on Sitting Mountain Peak. They set off together to start their exploration of the endless, icy layer of Earth. In the uppermost level of Blazing Flames Lake, within the spreading frozen lake fire, a huge axe tore through space at an alarming speed and charged into frozen lake fire. At an extremely high rate of speed, it soared up into the sky and flew toward the highest point. When the black hole of that endless deep abyss appeared, huge axe immediately started to reduce his speed. We've reached it. I rushed over here from Tilted Peak Sector. Thus, I have spent a little more time. If the universe supreme masters of the Divine Eye clan had also advanced at full speed, they would have reached it, too. After it slowed down, it started to suck in energy. Then it flew straight into the dark deep abyss. In the deep region of the 9th level of deep abyss, there was an endless layer of frozen earth. Crimson Pyramid and the deep green mountain rock both were flying above the endless, icy earth, exploring and searching for a way in. They had been doing so for the past 2 days, but were completely clueless about how they could find their way in. Luo Feng was frustrated. Theoretically speaking, if the 2 pieces of scales are below, then by right, I should be able to get in. Luo Feng, I found it. I found the way to get in. Sitting Mountain Guest's voice transmitted over to Luo Feng. Come over here to where I am. Found it. Right, I'm coming. Luo Feng felt his excitement building instantaneously. Crimson Pyramid flew into the dark green mountain rock right away. Sitting Mountain Guest smiled and said with confidence, the 12th level of Deep Abyss is well known for being barren without treasures. Not many great beings are willing to come in here. I did not expect this endless, frozen earth to be so mysterious. This endless layer of frozen earth is unique. As far as the universe ocean, the 3 reincarnation eras, and the 2 Holy Land universes are concerned, the number of great beings who can discover the secrets of this layer of frozen earth may not even exceed 3. As your teacher, if I were to say I am only second best in making and refining true treasures, no one would dare say he was the best, especially when even someone like myself had to take such a long time to discover the secret of this place. If it is you, cultivating to become a universe master here, I think you might not even be able to enter the layer of endless iced earth. Luo Feng could not help interrupting his teacher's boasting session. Teacher, I think we should go in. I am also very curious, said Sitting Mountain Guest. You can see the technique I will use. The entire deep green mountain peak expanded tremendously all of a sudden, and immediately fell onto the layer of frozen earth. The next moment, the whole green mountain peak radiated countless light rays. These light rays were distorted to give rise to countless secret engravings, which started to worm their way into this layer of frozen earth. At this point, the vast layer of endless, frozen earth presented a gigantic diagram of secret engravings that spread over an area of 10 billion kilometers. This video will end here.